Happy birthday, Dorothy. What is this?
We found these documents in your possession.
Those belong to us.
You have no right.
My daughter-in-law smiled as she handed me the eviction notice at my 70th birthday party, in front of 50 guests, while my son stood there, silent. That's when I decided to destroy them both with the secret I'd kept for 35 years. You want to know what rock bottom looks like? It's watching your only son choose his wife over his mother, while she publicly humiliates you at your own birthday celebration. But here's the thing about hitting rock bottom. It's solid ground to build your revenge on. I'm Dorothy Chen, and until 3 months ago, I was the perfect mother-in-law. Quiet, accommodating, invisible. The kind who babysits without being asked, cooks without expecting thanks, and pretends not to notice when her daughter-in-law Jennifer treats her like hired help. For 12 years, I played this role perfectly. I thought keeping the peace was worth more than keeping my dignity. I was wrong. The birthday party was Jennifer's idea, which should have been my first warning. "Mom, you only turn 70 once. Let me throw you a proper celebration," she'd said, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness that I'd learned meant trouble. My son Michael had been thrilled. "Mom, Jennifer's right. You deserve to be celebrated." Celebrated. That word would become the most bitter irony of my life. They held it at their house, the McMansion Jennifer insisted they needed, despite Michael's salary barely covering the mortgage. I'd offered to help with the down payment 3 years ago. Jennifer had refused, saying they didn't want to be dependent on family money. Now I understand why. She'd been planning this for years. The guests started arriving at 2 o'clock. My sister Ellen, my book club friends and Zaytins, neighbours I'd known for decades, even Mrs. Patterson from the senior centre where I volunteered. Jennifer had invited everyone who mattered to me. At the time, I thought it was thoughtful. Now I know it was strategic. Maximum witnesses for maximum humiliation. "Dorothy, you look radiant." Mrs. Patterson hugged me warmly. 70 never looked so good. I was wearing the dress Jennifer had bought me, a tasteful navy blue that she said suited my age. I'd even let her convince me to get my hair professionally styled. Looking back, she was dressing me up for my own execution. The party seemed perfect at first. Jennifer had catered from my favorite restaurant. Michael gave a touching speech about what a wonderful mother I'd been. There were tears, laughter, and enough flowers to stock a funeral home. That comparison would prove more accurate than I knew. Then came time for the presents. "Before we open gifts," Jennifer announced, clinking her champagne glass for attention, "Michael and I have something special for Dorothy." My son walked over, looking uncomfortable. He kept adjusting his tie, a nervous habit from childhood. "Mum, you know we love you." The room went quiet. When someone starts with, "You know we love you," what follows is never love. Jennifer took over, as she always did. "Dorothy, you've been living alone in that big house since Dad passed 5 years ago. We've watched you struggle with the maintenance, the stairs, the isolation." I hadn't struggled with anything. My house was paid off, perfectly maintained, and I had a cleaning service come weekly. But I stayed silent, the good mother-in-law, to the end. "So we've found the perfect solution." Jennifer pulled out an envelope with a flourish. "Happy birthday." The room erupted in anticipation. Someone started clapping. I opened the envelope with trembling fingers, though at that moment I thought they trembled with excitement, not the instinct of prey sensing a predator. Inside was a brochure for Sunset Gardens Assisted Living and a legal document. "It's a eviction notice," Jennifer said brightly, as if announcing a vacation to Hawaii. "We're invoking the state's elder welfare laws. The house is too much for you, and we've already put down a deposit at Sunset Gardens. You move in next month." The silence that followed was deafening. 50 people stared at me, waiting for my reaction. My sister Ellen's mouth had fallen open. Mrs. Patterson looked horrified. I don't understand," I managed to say. "You're evicting me from my own home?" Michael finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "Mum, it's for your own good. The house is in my name now, remember? You transferred it to me 2 years ago for tax purposes." 2 years ago, when Jennifer had convinced me that putting the house in Michael's name would protect it from inheritance taxes. She'd had her lawyer friend draw up the papers. "It's just a formality," she'd said. "You'll have lifetime rights to live there." Apparently, lifetime meant until they decided otherwise. "The assisted living facility is wonderful," Jennifer continued, oblivious to or perhaps enjoying the horror on everyone's faces. "They have bingo nights and crafts. You'll make so many friends." "But I have friends," I said quietly. "They're all here, watching you throw me out of my home." Jennifer's smile faltered for just a second. "Don't be dramatic, Dorothy. We're not throwing you out. We're taking care of you. By evicting me, by ensuring you're safe and supervised." Supervised. Like I was a child or a criminal. That's when something inside me snapped. Not broke, snapped into place. A decision I'd been avoiding for 35 years crystallized in that moment. I looked at my son, my baby boy, who'd once promised to take care of me forever, now standing behind his wife like a coward. "Michael," I said calmly, "do you remember when you were 15 and asked about your father's brother, Uncle James?" Michael's face went pale. "Mum, what does that have to do with— Do you remember what I told you? You said he died before I was born." "I lied." The room was so quiet you could hear the catering staff in the kitchen. "Mum, this isn't the time." "Oh, but it is, sweetheart. You see, if you're so concerned about my mental capacity that you need to lock me away, then surely I should clear my conscience first. Make sure all those important family stories are told while I still remember them." Jennifer stepped forward. "Dorothy, you're being ridiculous." I turned to her with a smile that made her step back. "Jennifer, dear, would you like to know why we really have so much money? Why Michael could afford to marry you despite being a middle manager? Why I never remarried after Robert died?" "Mom, please." Michael's voice was desperate now, but I was done being the silent, accommodating mother. Done pretending that keeping secrets was more important than keeping dignity. "Your Uncle James didn't die," I announced to the room. "He's in federal prison. Has been for 35 years. And the reason we're wealthy isn't because your father was a successful businessman, Michael. It's because I turned state's evidence against my own brother-in-law to protect you from his criminal empire." The gasp that went through the room was like a wave. Ellen grabbed my hand, whether in support or shock, I couldn't tell. "You're lying," Jennifer said, but her voice was uncertain now. "Am I? Check the federal database. James Chen, convicted 1989. Racketeering, money laundering, conspiracy to commit murder, life sentence without parole. And guess who the star witness was?" I pulled out my phone, my hands steady now. "I've kept the documentation all these years. The FBI files, the witness protection documents. The real will your father left, not the one Jennifer had you sign, Michael, but the real one that states exactly what happens if you ever betray me." What are you talking about? Michael's voice cracked like he was 15 again. Your father knew Jennifer was after our money from the day you introduced her. He updated his will accordingly. If you ever tried to remove me from my home, everything, and I mean everything, goes to charity. The house, the investments, the offshore accounts you don't even know about. Offshore accounts? Jennifer's greed overcame her shock. Oh, yes, dear. About $30 million worth. James's money, cleaned and legally mine after I testified. But there's a catch. It only stays in the family if the family treats me with, what was the phrase Robert used? Love, dignity, and respect. I stood up, smoothing my navy dress. Evicting me at my birthday party probably doesn't qualify. The room erupted. Jennifer was screaming about lies and manipulation. Michael was begging me to be reasonable. The guests were either fleeing or pulling out their phones to record the drama. But I wasn't done. There's more, I said, and the room quieted again. James had a son, your cousin, Michael. He gets out of prison next month. He's been writing me letters for 5 years, wanting to reconnect with family. I've been protecting you from him, keeping him away. But if I'm going to be locked away in Sunset Gardens, I suppose I won't be able to intercept his letters anymore. You're threatening us, Jennifer shrieked. I'm informing you of consequences. You want to play legal games with an old woman. Let's play. But understand that I've been playing longer, and I learned from the best. Your Uncle James taught me everything about revenge before I put him away. The next morning, I woke up in my own bed, in my own house, for what Jennifer assumed would be one of the last times. She was wrong. The 17 missed calls from Michael and 43 text messages from Jennifer told me they'd spent the night panicking. Good. The first text came at 2:47 a.m. Dorothy, we need to talk about this rationally. The last one, sent at 6:23 a.m. You vindictive witch, you've destroyed everything. At least she'd finally dropped the pretense of caring about me. I made myself coffee in the kitchen I'd renovated 15 years ago, using the machine Robert bought me for our last anniversary together. Every corner of this house held memories Jennifer wanted to steal. But what she didn't understand was that I'd learned from the best criminals in the business. Before I testified against James, I'd watched him operate for years. He taught me one crucial lesson: always have leverage, and always have more than one piece of it. The doorbell rang at exactly 8 a.m. I knew it would be Michael. Jennifer would have sent him alone, thinking I'd be softer on my son without her there. She still didn't understand that her greatest mistake was thinking I was soft at all. Mum. Michael stood on my doorstep, looking like he'd aged 10 years overnight. Please, we need to talk. I let him in, but didn't offer coffee. Small cruelties matter in psychological warfare. Is it true? He asked immediately. About Uncle James, the money, everything. I pulled out a manila folder I'd kept in my bedroom safe for 35 years. Inside were newspaper clippings, court documents, and photographs. I spread them on the coffee table like tarot cards, revealing his future. James Chen, convicted in federal racketeering case, read one headline. Star witness identity, protected in mob trial, read another. Michael's hands shook as he picked up a photo of James with Robert and me at Michael's christening. He was at my baptism. He was your godfather, until I wore a wire to his meetings and sent him to prison for life. Why didn't you tell me? Because you were 3 years old when it happened. By the time you were old enough to understand, we'd built a new life, a safe life. Would you have preferred growing up as the nephew of a convicted crime boss? Michael sank into the couch. The money we have, it's all dirty. No, that's the beautiful irony. The money is completely clean. The FBI seized James's assets, but I received a substantial witness protection settlement. Then your father invested it brilliantly. Every penny we have is legal. But Jennifer doesn't know that, does she? Mom, she's terrified. She thinks the FBI is going to come after us. They might, if she proceeds with the eviction. Michael's head snapped up. What? You see, darling, witness protection comes with conditions. One of them is maintaining stable residence. If I'm forced from my home into assisted living, it triggers a review of my case. The FBI will want to know why. They'll investigate everyone involved, including Jennifer's interesting financial history. What financial history? I smiled and pulled out another folder. This one was newer, compiled over the last 3 years since I'd started suspecting Jennifer's true nature. Your wife has been embezzling from her employer for 5 years, Michael. Small amounts, clever accounting, nothing anyone would notice unless they were looking. But I've been looking. The blood drained from my son's face. You're lying. The evidence is all here. Receipts for jewelry she claimed were business expenses, vacation charges to company cards, that kitchen renovation you thought her Christmas bonus paid for. Check the dates. Her company doesn't give bonuses until January. How did you… I told you. James taught me everything before I destroyed him. Did you think I'd survive testifying against a crime family without learning how to protect myself? I've been watching Jennifer since the day you introduced her. I knew she was a gold digger, but I kept quiet because you loved her. But when she started planning to steal my home, well, that changed things. Michael was crying now, silent tears rolling down his cheeks. My baby boy, reduced to this by a woman who saw him as nothing more than a pathway to wealth. Mom, what do you want? I want to live in my house until I die naturally. I want to be treated with respect. And I want Jennifer to understand that if she ever threatens me again, I will destroy her so thoroughly that she'll wish she'd been born poor. She'll never agree to back down. You've humiliated her. Then she'll go to prison. Her choice. Michael stood up, pacing. There has to be another way. The kids, Mum. Think about your grandchildren. Ah, the grandchildren. Jennifer's ultimate weapon, little Emma and James Jr., whom I'd been allowed to see exactly twice in the last year, because Jennifer was always too busy for visits. The children I never get to see anyway. Those grandchildren. That would change. Jennifer promised if you went to the assisted living, we'd bring them to visit every week. I laughed, harsh and bitter. She promised to let me see my grandchildren if I surrendered my home and freedom. How generous. No, Michael. Here's what's going to happen. Jennifer is going to withdraw the eviction notice. You're going to transfer the house back to my name, and I'm going to see my grandchildren whenever I want, or I'll file for grandparent rights and bring up Jennifer's embezzlement in family court. You'd destroy your own son's marriage? Your wife destroyed it when she decided to destroy me. I'm just returning the favor. Michael left without saying goodbye. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Jennifer. You evil witch, she started. Good morning to you too, dear. Have you withdrawn the eviction yet? You think you've won? You have no idea who you're dealing with. Actually, I do. You're Jennifer Marie Hoffman, born in Riverside, California. Your father left when you were 12. Your mother worked 3 jobs to keep you in school. You swore you'd never be poor again, so you studied accounting, learned to hide your background, and hunted for rich husbands. Michael was your 3rd attempt. The first 2 saw through you. Silence. Oh, did you think I didn't investigate you? Jennifer, I've known everything about you since before the wedding. I stayed quiet because Michael loved you. But that protection ended yesterday when you handed me an eviction notice at my birthday party. If you expose me, you'll hurt Michael too. Then don't make me expose you. Withdraw the eviction, return my house, apologize publicly, and we can all pretend this never happened. I'll never apologize to you. Then start practicing your mugshot smile. I hung up and made another call, this one to a number I hadn't dialed in 3 years. Peterson Investigations, the familiar voice answered. Tom, it's Dorothy Chen. Remember that favor you owe me? Tom Peterson had been the FBI agent assigned to protect me during James's trial. He'd retired to private investigation but kept in touch. Dorothy, of course. What do you need? My daughter-in-law is trying to evict me and steal my estate. I need you to make her understand that's a very bad idea. Tom laughed. Still fighting crime in your 70s? No, Tom. Now I'm committing it. But legally. I'll be there tomorrow. That evening, Ellen came over with wine and questions. Dottie, is it all true? James? The FBI? I poured us both generous glasses. Every word. All these years you never said anything. What was I supposed to say? Hi, I'm Dorothy. I sent my brother-in-law to federal prison and live off witness protection money. It doesn't make for good book club conversation. Ellen studied me like she was seeing me for the first time. You're not who I thought you were. I'm exactly who you thought I was. I'm just also someone else. Someone who learned that when people threaten your safety, you eliminate the threat. And Jennifer is a threat? Jennifer is a parasite who made a fatal error. She assumed that because I'm old and quiet, I'm weak and stupid. Tomorrow she learns otherwise. What are you going to do? I smiled and sipped my wine. I'm going to give her exactly what she wanted, a dramatic revelation at a family gathering. Only this time, she'll be the one getting evicted. The next morning, Tom Peterson arrived with a briefcase and a video camera. By noon, we had everything set up. By 3 o'clock, Jennifer and Michael were sitting in my living room, having been summoned by Tom's official-looking letter about urgent estate matters. Thank you for coming, Tom began formally. I'm here to inform you that Dorothy Chen has been under federal protection for 35 years. Any attempt to displace her from her registered safe house constitutes a federal crime. Jennifer started to speak, but Tom raised his hand. Furthermore, our investigation has uncovered significant financial irregularities in your personal accounts, Mrs. Hayes. Embezzlement is a serious federal crime, especially when it intersects with witness protection protocols. This is blackmail, Jennifer spat. No, I said calmly. Blackmail would be threatening you. I'm simply informing you of the consequences of your actions. You have 2 choices. Withdraw the eviction, return my house to my name, and we all go on with our lives. Or proceed and face federal investigation, criminal charges, and the complete destruction of everything you've built on lies. Jennifer's face went through several colors before settling on a shade of purple I'd previously only seen on eggplants. She turned to Michael, expecting him to defend her, but my son was staring at the floor like it might open up and swallow him whole. You have 48 hours to decide, Tom Peterson said, closing his briefcase. After that, I file my report with the federal prosecutor. This is insane, Jennifer finally managed. You can't perceive any embezzlement. Tom smiled the way a shark might smile at a seal. Mrs. Hayes, I've been investigating financial crimes for 30 years. Your embezzlement is so amateur I could prove it with my eyes closed. The only reason you haven't been caught is that nobody was looking. Now someone is. He stood to leave, then paused. Oh, and Mrs. Hayes? That Bermuda trip last year? The one you told Michael was a company retreat? Your company's records show they've never held a retreat in Bermuda. However, they do show a suspicious transfer to a travel agency that matches the exact cost of 2 tickets. Yours and someone named Bradley Morrison. Michael's head snapped up. Who's Bradley Morrison? Jennifer went white. He's nobody. A colleague. A colleague you spent 5 days with in a couple's resort, Tom asked innocently. Interesting choice for a business trip. And there it was, the final card I'd been holding. Jennifer wasn't just a thief. She was also a cheater. You knew? Michael asked me, his voice broken. You knew she was having an affair? I've known for 18 months, I admitted. Bradley Morrison, her yoga instructor. They meet every Tuesday and Thursday while you're at work. The Bermuda trip was their anniversary celebration. Michael stood up so fast the coffee table shook. I'm done. Mum, transfer the house back to your name. Jennifer, we're getting divorced. Michael, baby, he's lying. They're both lying. Jennifer grabbed his arm, but he shook her off. The house transfer will be complete within 24 hours, he said to me, then looked at his wife with disgust. You wanted the house so badly. Congratulations, you just lost everything trying to get it. He walked out, leaving Jennifer alone with Tom and me. She sat there for a moment, her perfect facade finally cracking completely. You destroyed my marriage, she said quietly. No, dear. You destroyed your marriage when you decided to destroy me. I just revealed the truth. There's a difference. Tom excused himself, leaving us alone. Jennifer and I sat in silence for a full minute before she spoke again. What kind of mother does this to her son? The kind who refuses to be buried alive by her daughter-in-law. You tried to lock me away, Jennifer. You tried to steal my home, my dignity, my freedom. What did you expect? That I'd go quietly to some assisted living facility and wait to die while you spent my money? It wasn't about the money. Everything with you is about money. You married my son for money. You stayed with him for money. You cheated on him but didn't leave because of money. And you tried to destroy me for money. Jennifer stood up, straightening her designer dress. You think you've won. Michael will forgive me. He always does. And when he does, I'll make sure you never see your grandchildren again. I smiled and pulled out my phone, hitting play on another recording. Jennifer's voice filled the room. The old bat will be dead within 5 years anyway. Once she's in the home, we can sell her house and live off the profits. Michael's too stupid to realize his mother's sitting on a gold mine. It was from last month, recorded by the listening device I'd planted in her car. Completely illegal, but Jennifer didn't know that. You recorded me? James taught me many things before I sent him to prison. One was that everyone has secrets, and secrets are power. Another recording has you discussing with Bradley how to fake power of attorney documents. Would you like to hear that one too? Jennifer sank back into the chair. What do you want? I want you gone. Divorce my son, take nothing but your clothes, and disappear. In exchange, I won't send you to prison. The children will be better off without a criminal mother. Michael will have full custody. I'll help raise them, teach them about honor and family and all the things you never understood. You're a monster. No, I'm a survivor. My brother-in-law was a monster. My husband's family were monsters. I learned from monsters how to protect myself from other monsters. You're just a small-time crook who made the mistake of thinking I was prey. Jennifer left without another word. Within a week, she'd filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. She didn't contest custody or ask for alimony. Michael was devastated but relieved. The children, freed from their mother's toxic influence, began visiting me every weekend. 3 months later, I was teaching Emma to bake cookies when she asked, "Grandma, why did Mommy leave?" "Sometimes people show us who they really are," I told her, "and we have to believe them." "Were you sad?" "No, sweetheart. Sometimes when bad people leave, it's a gift." Michael was in therapy, learning to recognize the signs he'd missed. He'd moved back home temporarily, and I'd been tempted to let him stay. But I'd learned my lesson about boundaries. "You need your own place," I told him gently. "This is my home. You're welcome to visit, but we both need our space." He found a nice apartment 15 minutes away, close enough for daily visits with the children, far enough that I maintained my independence. The story should have ended there. A grandmother's victory, a family rebuilt, justice served. But life, I'd learned from James, never follows the script we write. The letter arrived on a Thursday, no return address, but I recognized the handwriting immediately. James's son, Tony, my nephew I'd mentioned at the birthday party. But this wasn't the letter I'd expected. "Aunt Dorothy," it read, "you might not remember me, but I remember you. I was 8 when you sent my father to prison, old enough to understand that you chose the law over family. I'm writing to tell you I'm being released next month. Not to threaten you, but to thank you. Prison saved my father from the streets, and keeping me from him saved me from his life. I became a lawyer, believe it or not. Criminal defense. I help people who got caught up in the life my father chose. I'd like to meet you, if you're willing, to understand why you did what you did, and to tell you that you saved my life by destroying his empire." I sat with that letter for hours, remembering the 8-year-old boy who'd called me Aunt Dotty and sat on my lap at family dinners. The boy I'd condemned to growing up without a father when I testified. I wrote back one line: "Sunday dinner, 6 p.m. Bring wine." He came, this nephew I'd destroyed and saved simultaneously. Tony Chen, now Anthony Chen, Esquire. 43 years old, successful, married with children of his own. We talked until midnight about choices and consequences, about family and betrayal, about survival and sacrifice. "My father would have gotten me killed," he said simply. "You gave me a chance at a different life. I destroyed your family. You saved what was worth saving, me." Michael joined us for dessert, meeting his cousin for the first time. They talked cautiously, then warmly, discovering shared interests and parallel lives. By the end of the evening, the children were calling Tony uncle, and plans were made for a family barbecue. Jennifer's replacement was nothing like her. Michael met Sarah at his therapy group of all places. She was recovering from her own toxic marriage, had her own money, and treated me with genuine warmth. When Michael proposed 2 years later, he asked my opinion first. "She's nothing like Jennifer," he said anxiously. "I know. That's why I approve." The wedding was small, intimate, nothing like the spectacle Jennifer had demanded. Emma was the flower girl, James Jr., the ring bearer. Tony stood as Michael's best man. I sat in the front row, the respected matriarch I'd fought to remain. During the reception, Ellen pulled me aside. "You did it, Dottie. You won." "Did I? I destroyed my son's first marriage, sent my brother-in-law to prison, and lived with secrets for 35 years. You survived. You protected your family. You refused to be dismissed." I watched Michael dance with Sarah, watched the children laugh with their new cousins, watched Tony telling stories that made everyone smile. This was the family I'd fought for, built on the ashes of the one Jennifer tried to steal. "You know what I learned," I told Ellen. "When someone shows you who they are, believe them. But when they try to show you who you are, fight back. Would you do it all again? I thought about Jennifer, presumably somewhere starting over with another victim. About James, who died in prison 3 years ago, never knowing his son became everything he couldn't be. About Robert, who loved me enough to protect me even from beyond the grave with his carefully worded will. Every single thing, I said, because the alternative was letting them bury me alive. The party continued around us, full of joy and laughter, and the simple pleasure of family gathering without agendas or schemes. Emma ran up and hugged me suddenly, sticky with cake frosting. "Grandma, I love you." "I love you too, sweetheart. Will you teach me to be strong like you?" I looked at this little girl who'd almost been raised by Jennifer, almost been taught that money mattered more than loyalty, that manipulation was better than honesty. "I'll teach you something better," I told her. "I'll teach you to recognize the people who try to make you weak, and to never let them." As the evening wound down, I stood on my porch watching the family disperse. My house, my porch, my life. The assisted living brochure was still in my kitchen drawer, kept as a reminder of how close I'd come to losing everything. Tom Peterson had called it the most satisfying case of legal revenge he'd ever seen. "You didn't just win, Dorothy. You demolished them." But that wasn't quite right. I hadn't demolished anyone. I'd simply refused to be demolished myself. There's a difference between being cruel and being strong, between seeking revenge and demanding justice. Jennifer had tried to bury me alive. I'd simply shown her that some people refuse to stay buried. The truth about strength, I'd learned, isn't that it comes from never being vulnerable. It comes from being vulnerable and surviving anyway. Jennifer thought my age made me weak. My widowhood made me desperate. My silence made me stupid. She learned that age brings wisdom, widowhood brings clarity, and silence is often just patience in disguise. 6 months after the wedding, a package arrived with no return address. Inside was a cashier's check for $50,000 and a note. "For the children's college funds, I'm sorry, J.A." Jennifer's last attempt at manipulation, trying to buy her way back into grace. I donated the money to a charity for elder abuse victims in her name. The thank you letter they sent to her address must have been quite the surprise. Michael asked me once if I ever felt guilty about what happened to Jennifer. "Do you feel guilty when you take antibiotics for an infection?" I asked him. "That's different." "Is it? She was a disease in our family. I simply administered the cure." The house feels different now, lighter. The children's artwork covers my refrigerator. Michael and Sarah host Sunday dinners. Tony brings his family for holidays. We built something new from the ruins Jennifer created, something stronger because we chose each other instead of being bound by mere blood or law. But I keep the recording device, and Tom Peterson's number, and all the documents that proved what people are capable of when they think you're weak. Because I learned from James, from Jennifer, from all the predators who've circled me over the years, the moment you stop protecting yourself is the moment they strike. I'm Dorothy Chen. I'm 73 years old. I survived a crime family, a corrupt daughter-in-law, and every attempt to make me disappear into irrelevance. I'm not a victim or a villain. I'm simply a woman who refused to go quietly into that good night or into Sunset Gardens assisted living. The children will grow up knowing their grandmother fought for them. Michael learned to recognize manipulation before it destroyed him again. Tony found the family he thought he'd lost. And somewhere, Jennifer is probably trying to convince another family that their elderly mother needs professional care. I hope they're smarter than my son was. But if not, I hope their mother is smarter than Jennifer thought I was. Because here's the truth about getting older. You don't get weaker, you get wiser. You accumulate secrets, like weapons. You learn that respect isn't given freely after 70. It's taken, demanded, fought for with every tool you've gathered over a lifetime. Jennifer wanted me to find somewhere else to die. Instead, I found somewhere else to live. Right here, in my home, surrounded by the family I protected and the respect I demanded. The pawn became the queen, and the queen protected her kingdom. Checkmate.